go on and start. I'm Julian Reed. I'm the Director of Academic Technology at St. George's Independent School in Memphis, Tennessee. And I'm a Google for Education Certified Innovator and Trainer. I do a lot of training around the country, and I'm lucky enough to be able to serve on the Google Education Teacher Advisory Board and work with the GEO team. And Rick, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Rick Lapi. I'm an instructional technology coach at the Wilson School District in Pennsylvania. I'm also a Google certified trainer, so I've gotten a chance to work with Jolene and a lot of others around the country helping out with GAF in schools.
Okay, so we're excited you're here with us live, and some of you may just be watching the broadcast, but we're excited you're here. Let's see, let me mute Craig here, and then we won't have that feedback. There we go, that's better. And the reason we decided to do this today is because we noticed lots of people suddenly got some invitations to the Google Expedition Pioneer Program, which is really exciting. And we're very excited about it too. I just got mine this past week. When did you get yours, Rick?
Last Tuesday.
Yeah, so we're all they're suddenly starting to invite some of us in, and that's exciting. So everybody's kind of trying to figure out the workflow. And I know I was sharing it with one of the tech directors at our other campus, and she was looking at me with kind of wide-eyed, like, what, as I was telling her. But Rick and I were talking, once you do it once, it's really easy. It's just getting the system, the workflow. So we thought we'd just share our experiences today. Rick, you want to share anything else?
No, I mean, it was exciting. I will say that it took me a couple times, and I seemed to be a little window of error time till it went through to allow me to actually do it. So I don't know when we want to talk about that process, but
yeah. Well, maybe you want to maybe just start with our slides and go through it, and then start talking about some of the nuances of it, or we could actually talk a little bit just in general. I mean, for one thing, you have your tablet. It's a little different than just Google Cardboard, but you have your tablet that's a teacher station that you're going to be guiding it with. When Google does it, they have another phone that's their hotspot. So this phone is actually my hotspot that I'm using so that you don't have to have internet connectivity. But either way, they all have to be on the same network, whether it's through a hotspot or whether it's through your Wi-Fi. So that's really important too. So just getting in there and making sure the hotspot's on, which I just did. And then the different devices, and then the cardboards. I might have to jump up and grab the Expedition ones, but it doesn't matter. There's lots of different kinds of cardboards you can get. This is just the ones they gave us at ISTE last year, the Google for Education ones. And then I have a set of Expedition ones as well. You can buy them online, all different prices, different qualities, so be careful of that. And then get into them and get them all on the same network, and of course you have to have the apps on there, and we can talk about that process. Rick is really good about that. I also reached out to a couple of the Google people about that as well, about the process, because it was a little tricky at first, wasn't it, Rick, getting the app downloaded?
it was. And actually, even today, I struggled to find the directions of opting in because I couldn't find on the email where I got to get that. And I did post those links on the last slide of the
Right.
I'm not sure if we shared that out yet or not.
Yeah, I haven't shared the link to the slideshow, but I'll certainly share it out in the communities. And you guys can use it as much as you want to. And what you'll end up with is, and you can kind of see it here on the tablet, you'll see the guide app. That's the one you use as the teacher. And then the kids will see the Explorer app, the green one, on theirs. And so you'll launch the Explorer app on theirs and put them in the cardboards and have them set to go, and then you'll have the guide on yours, and then you'll be ready to go. So you think go through the slides, or something else we should share first, Rick? I mean, this is really conversational, so jump in anytime.
Yeah, I think maybe jump on the slides, talk a little bit about that. They can kind of see what it looks like on the slides then, if they haven't seen it yet. We can talk about our experiences running them as we're going through the slides.
Okay, so here it is, just the beginning. This is your Pioneer Program logo, and you can get to the different expeditions.
And Julian, just to clarify, so everyone knows, the Pioneer Program itself is when Google came to the school, right? And then we're really referencing more the Expeditions beta
Yes, sorry, you're exactly right. So this is the Pioneer program, and I think it's actually the Pioneer Beta or something. It's a little confusing with the terminology, but yes, the Pioneer program you can sign up for online, and they will come to your school and demo it for you. And it started out, and I think it was mostly the coastal areas, Texas, West Coast, those areas. But I've noticed they've expanded into Canada last month, or actually in like November or December, and they're expanding in a lot of different places now. So if you go online, you pick the city nearest to you, nearest your location when you sign up for that, and they may come visit you. And then you're right, there's the beta program. You want to talk about how to sign up for that, Rick? Or
Yeah, if you go to the Pioneer website, all the way at the bottom, you scroll really down to the bottom, and the last slide, there's a link to that on this presentation as well. But there's a form that you can fill out for the beta test, the beta tester program. But again, it's all the way at the bottom of the Pioneer site. I know in talking with Brent last week, he did say that people are still encouraged to, or it's recommended that they can still fill out the Pioneer form as well, depending on what situation they want. Obviously, the downfalls of the beta program is you need to come up with all the devices on your own to use those, whereas if you do get picked for that Pioneer program, then they're bringing the stuff to you if your school is picked.
and the good thing though, I mean, I would love to be picked. We haven't been picked. I've had an outreach kit here because I've been doing some work with them, and I'm shipping it back today. But the Nexus phones that they're using are right around 50 some dollars from Best Buy, and I think a couple other vendors. And they're nice little units. You can only buy 5 at a time, so you have to divide and conquer. And I can also put that in the community, what Nexus version that I've found that looks pretty good. That's one of the ones they've been using. But you can only buy 5 at a time, so you and all your friends get to go buy them and get them. I don't know why there's a limit. Maybe you can sweet talk them if you go in. Do you know, Rick?
I don't, but if you want to get creative, I was telling Julian earlier, we actually used our Nexus 7 tablets, which fit very interestingly into the Google Cardboard boxes, but with a rubber band. I used them with kindergartners yesterday, and it worked out pretty well. So if you
Yeah.
do have an Android device, that's somewhat updated, you could possibly use it on there. We use Nexus 2012s, which worked out well, except for we can't get the Cardboard app. We can only get the Expedition app. So we can't scan a QR code of the actual Cardboard to get it synced exactly the way it's supposed to be.
And the difference between, in case someone's, because this will be live, I mean, this will be archived, in case someone's wondering what's the difference between Cardboard and Expeditions. Expeditions is the one where you can have multiple devices in the classroom all viewing the same thing, and the teacher has the ability to kind of direct them to where they're going and give them information. You can still do a lot with Google Cardboards without Expeditions, and if you look at Google Street View, you'll see the little cardboard icon up in the top to see the types of things that you can see through Street View. You just don't have some of the same opportunities in the classroom to have everybody in the same place. Any other differentiation you want to talk about there, Rick?
No, I think that pretty much summed it up.
And there's the website there for Expeditions, and there's a great little video. We're not going to play it here, but there's a great video that shows the cardboard in action. And one of the things that I love is I work a lot with some schools in developing countries, in Africa especially, is that you don't have to have Wi-Fi to do this. You can have an internal hotspot. So if you have something that will broadcast a signal, it doesn't even need network connection. It just needs to have the information, everything loaded up on the devices, and then it can push it out internally. So if a school in a remote area doesn't have access, they can still use Expeditions. So either way, and there's some amazing ones there, and I love the Gombe one you're seeing because I've actually stayed in Jane's house on Gombe, and so when I went to that one and went inside her house, I was like, wow, there's her house, and I have to laugh a little because it shows her paperwork on her desk, but I remember exactly what was on the desk when I was there. Was lots of different things, but it's fun to go back and see it again. And you get, it's really funny. I was telling Rick today, we've been doing this elementary school kids. This one, they've got it strapped on. I was doing it downstairs with a teacher the other day, and the associate head walked in laughing at us because we looked really goofy. And the fifth grade students, instead of going up to the ceiling and looking, they were lying on the floor. And then we have kids, some of the boys in elementary, who sit on the big bouncy balls while they're working to kind of get their energy out. And they were just bouncing and bouncing while they were using it. So it was funny. And you used it this week with students as well, didn't you, Rick?
Yeah, I actually ran a little expedition field trip for Dr. Seuss Week yesterday.
Oh,
We went
fun.
to Coral Reef, and that was with kindergarten kids. So it was fun. We read the places you can go, and then decided to go somewhere and
Oh,
learned a
fun.
little bit about coral reefs and um, enjoyed that aspect. And it was 22 degrees here, so got to feel a little bit
And the group I worked with
warmer
in
by feeling like we were swimming in the Caribbean. So.
And the group I worked with in third grade, they've been doing a huge rainforest unit. So we were in the Amazon, we were in Borneo, we talked about the threats of the rainforest, and it was really a great expedition to go out and be able to be immersed in the virtual reality of being in the rainforest in 360. And I think that's what's so exciting, that you do get totally immersed. It's in some ways, if you haven't done it, it's like the old Viewmasters, only on steroids. And there will be some, I think, in the future. Probably there'll be video as well. One of the things that I've loved is I've been able to be involved with this up in Churchill, Canada, where we've done some work with polar bears. I go there every year as director of the Tundra Connections program. So we've been collecting Street View for 3 years up there, and I was able to help make the expeditions for polar bears in the Arctic ecosystem, and then the other one that's Churchill, Manitoba, Life in the Far North. So if you see, those are the ones I've been involved with, and you can see we put the trekker up on the Tundra buggy out on the Tundra there. You can see we mounted it. We've also mounted it on a pickup and driven around town. We've had it on our backs, on backpacks, and walked around. It weighs about 40 pounds. And then you can kind of see down below the different views. So this is the view on the right that the students see with the split screen that then gets put into that imagery on the cardboards, and the teacher view is on the left. So we're going to take you through that, and Rick, you can just jump in anytime, but there's awesome ones here. The red arrow at the top shows you the search window, so you can actually search them. I actually created a list of a lot of them the other day. Maybe I should share that too. I didn't put the like science labs and things, but I put a lot of the ones that I thought would be of interest elementary that are out there now, but they're changing and coming through all the time.
And just to follow up with that, you'll notice that on Jolene's picture on the slide here, all of those are colored in, meaning they were downloaded to the teacher tablet. So there is a process when you first get the expedition guide on your tablet. It's not going to be, none of those are going to be downloaded yet. So you can kind of select and choose which ones you want to download at that time. Not sure on space-wise how much they take up.
Yeah, I don't know that they're huge because they're mainly images. They're not videos, and they come pretty quickly. When you're on your tablet, if you kind of just pull down on it, you'll see a little circle start spinning at the top of the expedition window here. And when you see that circle start spinning, that's when it's going out and grabbing them for you. And that's the one time your tablet does need to be on an external network out to the internet to grab them. And if any of them are ever grayed out, those are new ones that have just come in, and you can click on those and get those to load as well. So the grayed out one means that they just haven't been loaded onto the device yet. So we just did this one. They started doing the search for Samburu, I guess, in Kenya, and as soon as they started the search, it didn't even complete it. It's found that expedition, and so you can search for them, or you can just scroll through and find the ones you like. I would recommend you kind of look at them before you use them in a classroom. Some are for different age levels and more appropriate from one age level than another. When you open one up, you see these different texts, these different the markers along the bottom, much like you see in Google Maps. And those place markers are actually panoramas. So every one of those is a pano that was captured from Google Street View from the Trekker, or for the Trekker camera, I mean. So those are panoramas, and so they'll have a multiple number of panoramas depending on which one you're looking at. They're different for each one. And then each panorama has certain interest points that we'll talk about as well in a second. When you click on that pano, you'll get this start window, the start button, and you just touch that start button, and that's what starts the expedition. And as soon as you do that, it'll be broadcast out to all the student devices that are connected with on the same network in that application for Explorer.
Just to follow up, if no one's ever seen it before, the students would only see a black screen at that time saying waiting for teacher input or waiting for teacher to start, something along those lines. So nothing is showing on the kids' screens yet or the Explorer screens yet.
So maybe you get in that panel and you look around and it's not exactly what you wanted. You don't have to show every single panel that's there. That's a collection of panels for that topic that the person who created thinks is of most interest from the different panoramas they have from the tracker. But you can choose whatever panels you want, as many or as few as you want. And if you want to return to the panels that you had listed on the bottom, you just click on that little flag back there. It takes you back down to the panels. And then at the top right, we see those familiar Google 3 bars, and those 3 bars indicate that there's something to pull down to there. And when you pull down on it or click on it, you'll see the points of interest. So the points of interest then pop down like this on the right side. So this is the research camp. It starts out with a little paragraph about the panorama. They've changed this a little bit. They're trying to shorten the information on the POIs and make most information the introductory panorama that's up there, so you can look through that. You can read it to your students, or you can put it on your own words to make it grade appropriate or make it more interesting for your class. And then you'll see sometimes there's just one, but usually there's 4 or 5 points of interest, 3 to 5 points of interest in each pano. When you click on that POI, you get what they call the site indicator or the circle. And that circle shows up on your tablet, but the kids in their cardboard expedition their cardboard devices will see arrows, and the arrow points them which way to turn to find that circle. When you see that circle there, and they see it, and as they get closer to the circle, you'll see all these happy faces pop up. If you know at the top right, that little happy face there that has an arrow on it, happy faces will start popping up all over the place, and you'll see that you've got 10 kids already focused in on that point, and you can kind of tell who's where by where those happy faces are. That number 0 out of 0, if you had 20 kids in a class who were connected, you should see 20 out of 20 right now are connected to that panorama with their expedition. But if you see 19 out of 20, like happened to me I told Rick one day this week, that means somebody's lost their connection. So you just ask who lost their connection, and that's part of the troubleshooting we'll talk about, but most of the time it's usually they just fell off the Wi-Fi or something. You just need to take a quick look at it. I told him that one of the things that happened with our cardboards was that the kids get really excited and push down on the frame of the cardboard. They'd hit that off button and put it to sleep. So we just have to pop the phone out in 1 second. We'd have them right back on again.
And
go ahead.
Just to follow up with the faces, I don't think there's a slide in the presentation that shows it, but that face will also be a lifesaver for teachers, which I talk about on the next 2 slides when we click on a point of interest.
Okay.
Might be jumping in early, sorry.
Yeah, I know what you're doing, and it's coming up. And to clear the circle, if you want to get out of the way, like sometimes once in a while it'll be on top of what you want them to see or what top of you're wanting to look at, you can go down below here and just deactivate it and clear it and then reactivate it later. So then they're going to be in, they're going to be looking around, and this is what Rick wants to talk about. Go, Rick.
So one of the great features for a teacher here is that you can do this point of interest by clicking and holding on a specific area that you want the kids to view. Once you do that on the student viewers, there will be an arrow that will direct them to that area. Once they get to that area, the arrow will go away, but you're also then going to see their faces around where you want them to be looking. So you can kind of see what direction the kids are looking right on the teacher tablet, which is just a great feature for the teacher to make sure they're all looking at the same spot.
And what's fun too is when you do that and they start popping in, it's really nice to know that they're noticing what you want them to look at. So yeah, when you push that down and hold it and all of a sudden the faces come, it's really interesting. One thing that Rick and I talked about that we didn't share that's kind of a classroom I didn't share yet, that's kind of a classroom management idea. When you first launch the Pano and launch an expedition to the kids and they're looking at the Pano, there's a couple classroom management things. First of all, when they first look at it, I wouldn't even go into any description. Just they're going to get all excited. They're going to scream and wow, and they're going to get really excited and be talking and talking. And just let them look around and talk for a little bit and kind of get that exploratory part out of them. And then there are ways we're going to talk about in a second where you can bring them back to center. But before you start talking, just let them look around. Let them see, tell them in the beginning, see what you see. Just observe and be ready to tell me some things you saw when you looked at it. And then another thing we're going to talk about is pausing, or when you want their attention, to have them put them in their laps. We're going to show you how to pause it. And so they'll learn that when you push the pause button, and we'll be talking about that, when you push the pause button, that's the time to get quiet again. And as soon as you see pause, you put them down your lap and be listening again. So there it is. You want to talk about how you use the pause button this week, Rick?
Yeah, so we basically took, as I said earlier, we took an expedition to Coral Reef. And a lot of different times we were going to go to do talking points. Anytime that I wanted to talk to the students, I hit the pause button. And anytime we were ready to resume, we obviously hit the play button. It's not much to it. I did talk with Jolene about that was also a moment where we said, all right, when this is pause, the cardboards are now in your lap, because it was amazing how kindergartners still wanted to stare at that black screen with nothing on it just because they were looking into the lenses of cardboard. So we piggybacked the two of those off each other to pause it, have them set it on their lap, so we knew that we had their attention for the actual curriculum talking points that we wanted to get through.
And I was the same way, and I didn't have them put it in their lap at first. I even thought about that, except I noticed when it was paused, we had third graders just staring at black screens thinking it was fun. I thought that was crazy, so quickly learned to put it in your lap. And if you have that conversation before you open the expedition, then they're ready for it later. And then when you're done with this one, we're done with the Elephant Center, we want to go somewhere else. We just click the X up here to quit that expedition of panoramas, and it'll take you back to that home screen where you can now find another one if you want to. And you can do that with them there. You might want to pause it, because what I found is when I got to the next one, they were already looking at the next one when I really didn't mean for them to look at it yet. So you might want to pause, go back to your next one, and then unpause it again. So here's that black screen that Rick was talking about. Isn't that exciting? And they'll see that, but that's the excitement of it. Another thing, and a lot of this has been me learning through Google. I'll show you the slide in a minute, and I'll come back to me. But because I was going back and forth while I was creating the expedition and getting ready for some things we were doing, and that's how I learned. Was just testing it, and then with my luck, I was able to work with John Bailey and Karen Tuxson-Bateman to get information from them. So I learned some of the tricks. And one of the tricks that John taught me, he's Mr. Expedition himself, who works for Google, is that if you don't have high power bandwidth, it depends on your bandwidth. And I told Rick, for me, it's not a problem with the hotspot. It didn't seem to be a problem. For some schools that may have lower bandwidth, what he recommended that you do, what John recommended you do, is before you give the students or do a classroom expedition, that you open the expedition you're going to be doing. So say you're going to do polar bears and the Arctic ecosystem. On the teacher tablet, you would open it, and you would start the guide with it, and you would start the expedition, and then open all the student ones. Just lay them out on a table. I did like 5 at a time, but you could do them all. And let them connect one time just looking at the screens. You don't have to go through all the points of interest or panos. You just need to get it to connect to that one expedition. What that does is that pulls those images down in advance and caches them. So they're cached on that phone so that it won't take much time in the classroom. If it's a new expedition that hasn't been viewed on that device before, you'll see a black screen that'll say downloading data, and you'll see 3%, 15%, 30%, and it goes really quickly for me and has for Rick, but if you had low bandwidth with a lot of devices, it could take a while. So that was one of the tricks that they taught us, was you might want to just do it. It didn't take that long, just to lay them out and hit several expeditions and let them load, and then just go right back to the beginning again. Rick, I'll let you talk to this slide, and then we can open it up for questions and things.
Yeah, and actually, if you go back one more slide, Jolene, just to, if you guys see the sprocket or the gear on the bottom of that screen, so this is on the student or on the Explorer, just a reminder that you can set up what cardboard you have. So if you don't have a lot of experience with cardboard, or even if you're getting virtual reality goggles or whatever it might be, most of them come with a QR code, and if you click on that sprocket, it'll actually allow you to scan that QR code if you have that cardboard app installed. So you can kind of set it up to better fit your cardboard device based on your viewing.
Okay. And here's our last screen if you want to share this with them, since you started the beginning and I can talk about it as well.
Yeah, so basically once I got the email that I was approved as, or accepted as a beta tester, and that my account was whitelisted, I had to go through a couple different steps. The email didn't necessarily have a ton of information in it. I kind of had to find some of that information on my own. So the first link is obviously that form to apply to become a beta tester, and you can complete that in order to become a beta tester and hopefully get approved quickly. After
I
you,
can't.
we both fill that out. So that's assuming. If not, you can fill that out and go through that then. So then I got the email, and from there I found the resource link under the shortened Google URL under the Go To, and this kind of gave me my steps. It was kind of funky that I had to create an incognito window. So if you go under Become a Trainer, it gives you some of the information about that. So after I opened an incognito window and signed in with my whitelisted account, I then had to go to the link listed under number 3, which gave me the option to actually opt in to be a beta tester. And I had to obviously agree to some terms and different things with that. So once I did that, I then had the access to go through to my next step, which would be to get it onto my tablet. So to do that, Jillian, if you could jump back on that same link.
Uh-huh.
And then go under the second step, which is installing the teacher tablet.
This one here?
Add an account to your device. Right above that, I'm sorry.
Sorry, that's okay.
So what you'd have to do then is actually go to the Play Store, load Expedition on your tablet. So once you went on your tablet after being accepted and opting in, you would open up the Play Store on your tablet, go to the more options, or the 3 lines on the top of your Play Store once your account was added, and then you could go under your All Apps, and Expedition was listed there and showed up there. So I'm still not able to search for it. I'm still not able to find it in the Play Store on a computer. The only place I can find it now once I opted in is when I go into Google Play on my tablet, and then go under my installed apps and then show all, and then it's listed under there.
So it was a little tricky getting that started, but it worked out pretty well. And it's nice to have Rick to talk to and bounce things off, and that's kind of what we were doing in the community. And so when we were doing that community, I thought, well, we might as well have a hangout and see what's worked for each of us. So that's kind of what we wanted to share. Is there anything else troubleshooting-wise? I haven't had much trouble. Rick, any ideas for that? If they have any problems you've run into?
Not, I was the first time I completed it, ironically, I had an error message. So when I went to try to opt in, I had an error message. And I think I got that email around 11 o'clock at night. So I messed around for maybe a half an hour and finally called it quits and went to bed. And the next morning, when I jumped on, went back to through the same process, and the error message didn't appear anymore. So I don't know if it was a time frame that kind of worked its way out, or what from there. But give it if you first get accepted, give it a little bit of time and see what happens from there. Unfortunately, I don't know if there's any secret handshake to being accepted. I haven't seen anything yet to really help with getting accepted or not getting accepted. I'm not sure how they're picking different people. We were not a pioneer school either, so I was very happy when we did get accepted as a beta tester.
Okay. Any questions, anybody? You can unmute your own mics or whatever and ask questions. And the chat's open. If you'd rather chat, you're welcome to do that too. I don't have the Q&A open at the event, but I do have the chat here in the Hangout.
Hi, Julian and Rick. Appreciate you guys doing this. Thanks so much.
Oh,
No
you're
problem.
welcome.
So I have a quick question for you. I was invited to the beta, and so is the app that I'm looking at the Explorer app? Is that actually the app to Expeditions?
Do you want to take that?
Sure, sure. So you have the app on your tablet already?
Yeah, I have it on my phone. I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, so there's two different apps. You would have a guide and an explorer. I'm not sure on your phone if you can get. Are you in your Play Store or on your actual?
Yeah. So actually, now I see the guide app as well.
Okay. So, as a teacher, you're going to open the guide app. One of the things I did notice, especially on my tablet, is if I accidentally open the Explorer app first, I needed to swipe that out before I opened the guide app, or it kept defaulting me back into the Explorer app. I don't know if that makes sense at all.
Okay, yeah, that does make sense. And I notice when I do that Explorer app, it seems to just kind of go, it just says searching Wi-Fi. So am I having some kind of issue there with the connection in my school?
I would think so. Julian, did you have the link to those troubleshooting?
Oh, I can put those in here. We can put that in the community too. I'll have to see. And there's also, if you have trouble with the app, there's a link to submit a form on your email when you get it too, if you can't download. Let me see if I can find that. We can put it in. I'll put it in for sure. I'll put it in an email in the community. I'll put a post in the community with both the link to that, and I think maybe Rick already did the slideshow, but we'll make sure that's in there too.
No, that's great. And I'll tell you, just you saying that there's the guide as well as the Explorer piece, I mean, that already clears up a lot for me because that was not clarified in the initial instructions.
And we should have said that at the beginning if we'd been smart. Yeah, on the tablet you have, and I may have said it briefly, but that's really important. The teacher has the guide, and the kids all have the Explorer.
Right. I guess, we stepped in a couple of minutes late, so I missed out on that, but that's, that makes a big difference because now I can see.
And in the top left of the guide, too, when you're in the guide, if I can get this where you can see it without all the reflection, if you do the little toggle down, there's some little things that you can look at as well. So there's some help things you can look at, like connecting your Explorers and send feedback, and a help window there. Let's see if it takes you to the help there. Yeah, if you hit the help window there, it's going to take you to your. It's support.google.com/edu/expeditions. So that's not too hard. I can put that in there.
Okay, yeah.
And it's available. Just email us or call us or chat us or hang out us or whatever. We're happy to help too, because I think it's all this kind of getting through the nuances of the beginning. It's a little tricky at the beginning. It's not hard at all.
Right.
It's just learning the workflow.
Yeah, all right, that sounds great.
Hello, Mr. Sawash. I just saw you there. Anybody else want to share? John, have you been doing things with Expeditions? Wait, you're muted.
With Expeditions, I'm waiting to get access. I've got a stack of cardboard over here that I've been playing with. I'm not in the cool kid group yet.
We don't know how we got in. It just was random, I think. I was very surprised, too.
You don't know anything about, is it just first come, first serve, or just school size, regions?
I don't know. It's, well, this isn't the Pioneer that we got. We didn't get the
Black
Pioneers.
Magic.
This is just the beta test. So there's two registrations, one for Pioneer and one for beta, and this is the beta we got. And I know that the Pioneer has been done geographically.
Right. Yeah,
where
they already
bring in
came
the
to
kids.
Michigan.
So
yeah, I'm
that's
interested in the pilot for
just give me the app, right? Just give me the app. So yeah, I don't know.
I haven't seen any rhyme or reason with school size or anything else with beta, so I'm not sure if it's been, when you filled out the form or not, or just if they're doing certain drops in different states.
Mm-hmm. You guys may have talked about this. Sorry, I pumped in late. Are there any limitations or recommendations regarding the actual device? Just any Android works fine?
I don't think it matters. I was saying earlier that I've looked, there's lots of different cardboards. If you look at Google's site that has the cardboards, there are lots of different cardboards. As you've seen, some are better than others. And you want to make sure you're getting the right cardboard for the device. If you have larger devices, get the larger cardboard. As far as the devices, I found a Nexus that's similar to the ones that they're using, and those are the Nexus, and they're about $50 at Best Buy. And the only limitation is you only can buy 5 at a time. So you have to get you and all your friends to go buy them. But
Sure.
I mean, that's what they're using. And it's been a nice little model for what we're doing here, what we've done with their outreach kit, and we haven't had any trouble, and that's pretty darn cheap.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do you
we
have anybody using the Nexus 7s, the tablet?
Go, Rick.
yeah, that's actually
Yeah, he
actually
talked
what.
about that earlier.
Yeah, we're actually using Nexus 7 tablets with a standard Google Cardboard. I did post a link to an album.
Oh, nice. It works, huh? It
It
fits?
does. It does. Yeah, I think I went with I went with Cardboard version 1 when I set it up. We were actually using 2012s. So the downfall of that is I can't get the Google Cardboard app itself on there to actually scan other codes for the cardboard. But I messed around with the preset settings that were in there and got to one that was as close as possible, and it worked out really well. So there's some pictures on there so you can kind of see what it looks like. It's not ideal, but we have 1,000 Nexus 7 tablets in our district, so it's something that we looked at, can we leverage this, and it actually worked out pretty well. And I will say, as far as hardware goes, I did try to experiment with some older phones that were kind of retired, and like the Droid Bionic will not work, but the Droid Turbo does. So we just kind of started grabbing phones that were out of commission from some of our administrative team that was given phones just to try to get any devices we could to work. There's something with a hardware component that's needed, so it's not necessarily an Android version as much as it's something needed hardware-wise.
Well, it's interesting because Rebecca just put in the chat. Can you see the chat, Rick? They're using a Samsung Galaxy Tab 4 Education with 5 Plus and are getting an error with the install the Expeditions app. It says the device is not compatible. I can certainly send this, up to support, and I can send it to the team at Google that works with this and see if they have any ideas and get you an answer and put it back to you, Rebecca. I don't know if there's a minimum spec. Have you seen a minimum spec or requirements for Expeditions?
Yeah, there was something on, and I'm sorry I don't have it up right now, but something on that support page talked about the minimum requirements as far as an Android version, but then again, there's also something with hardware, because I'll be honest, that Droid Bionic, we rooted and got up to Marshmallow, but it still wouldn't work because it was missing some type of hardware component.
So here is, I'm trying to find the support list to put in the chat, the link for the chat. There's also, I put in the chat what we did today, the presentation we used is in the chat, and I'll put it in the community as well. Any other questions?
Just to follow up on that, David just mentioned on the chat that gyroscope is needed, so I guess if it's a device that does not have gyroscope, it's probably not going to work for you. And then the previous question, just to clarify, if you have not been accepted into the beta program and did not opt in using kind of the steps we went through at the beginning of the video, you wouldn't have the link in the Play Store to get that. So you have to opt in, and once you do, then you can go through and complete those steps to get it.
Well, I will tell you, it's really fun. There are parts of me when I was working with it on my own and using it at Disty and everything that thought it was pretty cool, but didn't really know until I took it in the classroom and saw how, especially elementary kids, go crazy. They were so excited and screaming and yelling and really immersed in it. So that's when you really do it and you get the reality of how you can direct it to all of them at once with the Expeditions, that's when you get really excited and you see the value. Anyone know what Android with Magic Window is? Do you see that on the chat from Rebecca?
I don't.
I don't either. It's time for a Google it. I don't know that. Well, any other questions, anybody? I hope this helps. Feel free to reach out to us. Um, we're all learning it together, but it's lots of fun. And I think just jump in.
Yeah, just to reiterate that, I mean, my email is open if you have questions and we can help anymore. We're all in this together.
Alrighty. Well, have a wonderful weekend. It's spring break weekend beginning for me, so yay.
Enjoy.
All right. Take care, everybody. Glad you joined us.